Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 111, and today we're going to be doing battle with the Winding Light Akshan Sivir. And so, as we are approaching seasonals will be here in a little under 2 weeks, I have to really start to kind of hone in and lock in on the style of decks that I want to play, just due to the matter of time and time constraints and things. I'm not a professional YouTube maker. I'm not a professional streamer. I have a professional job outside of the world of children's card games, and I just don't have that 4, 6, 8 hours a day that I can devote to this game. And so I have to kind of pick a strategy out and early, and then really just focus in on those strategies up to the event. And so I'm not as well prepared as your professionals would be, but we have a long history of game thinking and stuff at our side, and hopefully we can just kind of get by without as much preparation as someone newer to the world of gaming would need. And so those kind of two angles that I'm really looking towards are the Inspired Light Demacia decks. And so we've played a fair amount over the past week or two of these decks, focusing in on Inspired Light, the rally cards, and then Stony Suppressor to some degree. I'm going to be investigating those a little bit more in the upcoming days. And then the other decks I want to look towards are the Winding Light decks. I think the Winding Light is arguably maybe not the best card, but certainly the most powerful card that's seeing competitive play right now, and it's really starting to catch on. Ruben Zhu managed to hit rank 1 on the ladder right before the 310 patch with Aphelios Fizz. The take on fairies with the addition of the Winding Light was the big deal. After kind of the fairies nerf in the 310 patch, the deck that's really been kind of picking up steam are the various flavors of Aphelios P and Z. You're seeing a lot of Aphelios Zoe, a lot of Aphelios Victor, a lot of Aphelios Vi, and they all do some very similar things. They have a lot of go wide cards. They control the board with Aphelios. Once they have a big full board, they close the game out with the Winding Light. Very similar play patterns across those decks, and that play pattern kind of carries over here, and it carries into all of those Demacia decks as well, as to where you just control the board. You try not to trade. You try to get value attacks where you can. And then once you have a full board, you grow all of your units and then just get a big crushing attack in. And so with Demacia, you play the likes of Inspired Light, you play 4 Demacias, you grow your whole team. You need to attack twice because none of your units have Overwhelms, but you get the attack twice with the rallies. Here, our units do have Overwhelm, and so we try and close out the game with the Winding Light. And so this is our kind of like next take on it. So if we focus in and hone in on Akshan Sivir, this does have a lot of those early board control elements. We get access to Chip, which is just the absolute biggest collection of stats you can get in the game, most mana efficient unit in the game. We have lots of quick attack challenges in the early game between using Rockhopper, Merciless Hunter, and Exhaust to pass out vulnerables, then winning those combats with Sivirs and actions and chips. We can use this to control the board, spread out our width, and then look to either close out the game with the Winding Light that we've been talking about, or with the more classic combo kill and using Sivir plus the Absolver. And so that is, your kind of general strategies. Come down, control the board for a little bit. Once the board stalls out, you're going to win the game with a gigantic collection of Overwhelm units. And so what I will say, as I've gotten more familiar with this deck and seen a lot of the lists running around, I feel like the collection of 3 Shapestone, 3 Pale Cascade, and 3 Absolvers is just way too much. So I've cut out 1 Absolver here. I'm not entirely opposed to cutting out Shapestones or Exhaust. Again, I still need a little bit more time with this deck, but I don't feel like the decks running around right now are super tuned. I do like having access to Lunari Duskbringer. We don't have lots of Nightfall, and we don't have any discard combos for the Duskbringer, but being able to play the Winding Light on turn 6 can be extremely important, and having a burst way to put the Winding Light on the board is also important. The big strength in the Winding Light isn't just passing out all of these stats in the Overwhelm, but it's being able to do it at sort of burst speed. If you start your turn with the Winding Light, you give all of your units the stats, your opponent has to then react to all of the stats, to whereas if we're playing a card, like say we have to play a Waking Sands as a card to activate Nightfall and then play the Winding Light, our opponent has the chance to do stuff. And so I like having the burst card. I like having the way to get the Winding Light down a turn earlier. And then I'm not playing the Preservarium. I don't feel like this is a deck that really needs to strive too hard to pick up a bunch of value, but I do like the concept of Ancient Preparations. This is a card that we play a lot in Talia Ziggs, where we would use the Ancient Preparations to go and dig for our Absolver, or we'd use it to dig for our Arsenal, or just play it on turn 1, right? So it's good early and good late. We can do a lot of the same things here, whether or not that is digging for a Sivir, digging for an Absolver, digging for a Winding Light, or just playing it on turn 1. All of those same combos still apply here. And so, that being that is what the deck we are battling with today. I did do an investigation. I looked into it deeply. I said, hey, have we paid the pay-to-win price? We have. Our entire deck is premium today. Our Akshan also sporting the Pulsefire skin. Our Sivir not leveled up. You know, I think there's a Sivir skin out there. We haven't purchased it, is what it is. But the remainder of the deck is ready to go. Sivir's premium, and so that's pretty cool. All right, let's get in here. Starting off against the burn deck, the Annie Jin. So we'll hang on to our early plays. We're looking to start off with our 1s and our 2s, and so our Treasure Seekers, our Preparations, our Chips, our Lunari Dustbringers, our Actions, something to play out the early piece of the curve here. Not looking to start with Winding Lights, don't want to start with Ruin Runners, don't want to start with Sivirs. I don't like keeping combat tricks in the beginning because we're playing so many of them anyways, that I'd prefer to just cycle them away. Going to lead in with the Ancient Preparations here. We're never blocking Annie, and I want to get this unit down as fast as we can. We'll just pick up the Sivir here. We already have 1 Winding Light. We have a pretty decent curve. We should be able to get her down for a nice attack on turn 4. I was hoping that we would pick up a Exhaust or a Merciless Hunter to pick on this Annie, but didn't happen. It's okay though.
Gently, gently.
I need to get in my head that these, like, this is what I was kind of expecting coming out of Annie Jin, is seeing things like Tusk Speaker. Like, it just seems like more and more recently we've been seeing Annie Jin playing, like, Ravenbloom Conservatories and being more mid-rangey to being control-y. And so I get a little confused as to what to expect now that we're out here seeing things like Tusk Speaker turn up. But we'll manage. All right, him playing a Sunhawk gives us a chance to drop the Vacuran Vagabond. Nice blocker for Annie. He does have Jin in hand, worth noting, but this should be a good shutdown with the Vagabond. All right, he's bringing it. He only has 1 mana, so we may lose our Vagabond to something, but it's going to take a little bit of effort. Ooh, he picked up a Tibbers. That was pretty quick. Okay, so we still get the takedown on... Oh, no, we don't. Oh, fuck. That was brutal. I don't like that block anymore. We should have just blocked the Sunhawk. All right, Sivir. We're counting on you to do some work. He at least can't play Tibbers just because it's so expensive. Ugh. What a gross world we're in. Alright, we need something good here. Ruin Runner. Kinda gets the job done. It's like we're far away from playing the Winding Light, right? We can't play this until quite a few turns from now.
That's all.
Okay, we have some protection for Sivir here with the Pale Cascades. Not liking how this is going, but she's going to have some opportunity. And I just imagine if he comes down and tries to pop her Spell Shield that he's going to throw Tibbers at her.
Sand and trouble far as the eye can see.
There's the conservatory. Sure. Yeah, I think we're just like a turn behind now. This is why I really like having access to those, whatever you're called, Lunari Duskbringers. To, if we could play the 1 mana thing and drop a Winding Light, we could potentially win the game this turn, but we're a turn too far behind now. But let's see what we can do. We'll drop the Waking Sand, see if he throws Timbers on it. Then we can follow up with Action and maybe get a good combat. It's probably not even really worth playing Action here.
I have prepared something very special.
Yeah, we're gonna be too far out with even with the Moonlit Affliction. Okay. Just a little bit off, a little bit too awkward. I'm curious how that would have turned out had we not just lost our unit to Annie. If we'd pushed our blocker in front of the bird and gotten the bird off of the board. But not what we did. We didn't do it that way. It's not how things went about. All right, and back to the Masters dumpster. It's so weird now that once you're down here at like 0 LP Masters, you play against like such a wide variety of decks. I would really expect things to be pretty off meta unless we could just rattle off a few wins here. Okay, like I was mentioning, Trundle, Narvi. I would assume that this is some kind of concurrent timelines deck, but not entirely sure what's coming out of this. I'm going to get rid of the exhaust here. I'd like to find a 1-drop. Didn't happen, but I think it's worth going for. Alright, a little risky dropping the action here. He's playing PNZ and just passed with mana up. So I worry about him a little bit. But we can still at least just drop Rockhoppers now. Maybe we should have just played the Rockhopper last turn. I don't think the single tick on the Warlord's Palace is super important. Okay. Now I'm leaning on banking this mana. We have this Ancient Preparations we could play. I guess we don't really have any tricks in our hand. It's like, if we pick up a trick, then we're going to kind of want it, but without one, we don't. I'm going to go Merciless Hunter here. I see us playing Sivir on this upcoming turn, and then we may want to get a vulnerable across 2 units on our next attack. Like, he's going to bait something into our Roiling Sands, and then we can hopefully get a good quick attack challenge on the following turn.
All that glitter is mine.
Okay. So, I mean, this is tough. I think we might as well block. It's not a great block, but he's going to have the mana to get the Pokey Stick. And so it's like he's going to either attack, get the free flip, have the Pokey Stick in hand, and then just use it on our unit if he wants to, or we can make him try and like force it on something else. So he doesn't get the Gnar flip now because he chose to Pokey Stick away our Sivir's Spell Shield. Kind of an interesting choice there. I would assume that he just has another Get Excited.
We're not taking it. We're taking it back.
Beam. Okay. get this Gnar off the table. Chip! What up, my dude? Man, I forgot what it was like to draw Chip. I didn't think he was even in our deck anymore. All right. Not bad, not bad. Gets the big gatekeeper combo, that's sure. Can do some attacking around it. So it's like, what are we going to do next turn? Like, the thing that I'm leaning towards wanting to do is we have the option, if we pick up the Warlord's Palace without playing action this turn. So I'm saying, like, let's say we play Ruin Runner now. Then next turn, our Warlord's Palace is going to flip. We're going to get that card in our hand. We can immediately just use it to give our team +1 attack, and then Moonlit Affliction out the Sheriff Lariat Rose so that she can't block. I don't think that there's a ton of stuff that they could have to really limit this here. Do we want to go with the +1 attack, or do we want to go for the Sandstone Charger? The Charger's an additional point of damage, but you can Mystic Shot it. 6, 12, 13, 14. Alright, I'm going to go with the Charger. So we had some options here, but I think this is okay. Like, even if this isn't 100% successful, it should set us up to the point to where he has to invest so much in this attack that we just he can't play anything, and then we just win the game on our next turn. So we're one short as it is. All right, we're going to get the Rockhopper down. I want all of his units to be vulnerable next turn. So if he plays like Trundle or whoever here, I don't really care. I want it to be vulnerable so that we can just hook all of his stuff out of combat.
Gotta find a gift for Renekton, right, Arda?
Okay, we can currently just take all of this. So if he attacks, we'll just no block these. He's coming at us for 13. We didn't get a Warlord's Horde. Womp womp. Alright, Duder. What you bringing? He's got a lot he's got to work through here. Never blocking. If we had another unit to put on the board, we could block, but there's, I mean, I guess there is a way he burns us out from 7, but it's going to take quite a bit of work. And the Absolver, that should be enough to end it. So it's like now, even if he has like double harsh winds or something, we're still looking good to finish it off. GG. Market a W for Team Bust. Man, I hope y'all are doing okay out there. I saw on the old weather channel this morning, it's supposed to have a heat index of 110 today. Fucking absurd out here in Kansas City. Nobody wants to deal with that shit. I went out to dinner with the wife last night, and I don't know if the Royals were playing. I don't do too much following of baseball. Baseball, boring as fuck to me. But see the Royals on TV, and it's like, who wants to go sit in like 110 degree weather and just watch people play baseball? It sounds fucking miserable to me. But I mean, I guess some people like to do it. There's a couple people out there. Pretty sure the Royals are like one of the worst teams in the league this year as well, so They got that going for him. This is interesting with Chip. I'm curious if he ever trades. Right, this Ari Bard tends to play a bunch of low health units in the early game. I don't think he ever gets a trade, but I'm not feeling like he's going to. We're going to have like a good opportunity to play Chip here in the immediate future.
What do you fear? A dull companion? More revealing questions?
I don't need rules to know good from bad.
Maybe we would have.
The forest surrounds us.
Okay, I want to prevent the damage here. We don't have great ways to interact with these elusives, and so I know we don't get any kills off of this attack, but I just want to prevent everything that we can, right? If he's going to come out and throw a bunch of elusives onto us, there's just not a ton that we can do about it. Now we have an option between, do we want to Merciless Hunter the Ari and try and hook her with action? Do not. It's just like such a blowout if he has a Twin Disciplines here. Now we can at least like attack down anything that he plays. Much safer. Well, if he's got the Twin Disciplines to take down action, there's just not anything we can do about it. Okay.
Care that the hunt does not consume you, Ari. The others seem to wish it so.
See, here he is. He's coming at us with the elusives. Luckily, they haven't been boosted by the chimes, and so we're not just getting completely reamed, but there's a non-zero chance he's produced enough elusives to just kill us on his next turn, right? He's got, looks like 7 damage of elusive getting ready to come at us. So, definitely worried about it. Here is the Winding Light. We can't play it until turn 7, though. We need to start, like, offering up lethals now. So I'm going to put the Ruin Runner on top. I'm going to overwrite some of this stuff. I'm going to just not care. Just gonna not care about either of these landmarks. We're never flipping action. And then we have to be forcing our opponent into blocks next turn.
The forest strikes. Light steps. You leave me.
Is there a reason to now? We're going to take 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, we're just going to get boomed by elusives next turn. Let's keep our unit on board. Well, like, how much of this is he going to have to block? I guess that's what the real question is. I think we just let it be. We can threaten some stuff here, right? He's just shot all of these units back to board and he doesn't have any mana. And so if we hook this Ari out of combat, say like we hook Ari with Chip next turn, and then he doesn't have any units big enough to block a Merciless Hunter, we might be able to take this down. Right, so we have the Fearsome Attack from the Hunter. We're about to play the spell-shielded Overwhelmed dude. He's only going to get to play 1 card before this attack, and so he could end up playing something like a Homecoming. He can play one of these 1-cost units and then play a Homecoming. That'll get him pretty close to doing nasty things, but I think this is the best shot we have at finishing this.
Wrap 'em up tight.
This is justice.
Follow me. Gonna catch the sky.
So he can block Ruin Runner, but it only prevents 1 damage. He can't block the Merciless Hunter. He can send the Merciless Hunter back to hand. Are we gonna be 1 short? Did we mess it up that way? We should have just hooked Ari with the Duskbringer. We would have been in the same spot. He would have just no blocked with action. Okay. Alright, we can still maybe get out of it. We can have a what do you call the big silence thing, the Moonlit Affliction. Didn't pick it up. Okay.
Here I am.
That's a tough match, though. We do not interact well with the likes of Ari Bard.
Evil never plays fair.
Gotta, like, it's just like when you're playing a deck like this and we're already playing 3 Shaped Stones, 3 Pale Cascades, 2 Moonlit Afflictions, and an Exhaust. Like, it's tough to actually be like, man, I want to include Quicksand in the mix. It's just like, I'm curious if this is like something that's okay to carry into the likes of Gauntlet, but then just assume that you're going to ban Ari Bard.
Targon is so big.
Just a nightmare of a matchup. But hey, we got the big Expedition start. Do y'all ever remember doing this start in Expedition? It was like the only useful way to play with Chip. The only good Shurima Targon thing that you could do was Rockhopper Chip. You could look to fit in like Waste Walkers, but at the end of the day, you were always just playing those gigantic deck for Malphite. You're always a Malphite control deck. All right. Well, this seems to be going reasonably well. Opponents not doing anything, and so what's the best thing we could have happen? Well, just opponent not do anything. I think that's a pretty safe place to be. Here, I think I'm okay with sending the bad combat at the White Flame. He's gonna play like a combat trick this turn. If he has a Pale Cascade, then we can just like protect off of the Dragon Guard here. I think this is fine. We can actually play both of our combat tricks if we need to. So he's gonna like Pale Cascade the White Flame. Oh. Does the unit still die? Jesus. So he's a 3/4. How does he not... He should fall to 2 and then grow up to 3. Oh, he has this Dragon Guard thing on the board. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, why aren't you dying? That should be better. Now his board is empty. We don't really have much to do now, though. Little scary. I wonder if we should have just hooked his... Well, we would have been still in a bind if we'd hooked his unit with the Merciless Hunter. We wouldn't have had to use all the combat tricks, but our board would have gotten much worse. We lethal this turn? We'll be a little short of popping off a Moonlit Affliction. We'll have to try and end this on our next attack. Okay, I assume he's probably just going to block our Ruin Runner. Still a good combat for us.
The dragon's rage claws to get out.
Okay, then lots of tools for the upcoming turn. Uh-oh, it's healing already. A little scary. No? What else? What else are you supposed to say about this? I mean, it might be a bit of a mistake not holding off on that thing until next turn, but I think we should have enough stats between the Waking Sands and the Winding Light. Oh, he just no attacks? Oh, that seems more questionable. What you got for us, duder? What we got? We got about 10, 16, 22, 29. He's got 10 health on board.
Take everything. Wrap 'em up tight.
See if that's enough. One single combat wouldn't be enough. A single combat and a concerted strike would get him out of this mess. It's actually kind of scary with the concerted strikes and he, like, furying up his units. Oh, wow. Okay. I guess that should have been on our radar. Okay. All right. On to the next one. Okay, now this is actually an on-meta deck that worries me quite a bit, right? If we have to play against a lot of Blighted Ravine kind of decks, they just play so well into a lot of what we're doing. We don't have a ton of 3 health units to try and survive it, right? If you're playing with, say, something like Scouts, you can set up these boards to where you play like Petricite Broadwings and Vanguard or Vacuran Vanguards, whatever the poor Demacia maker's called, survive some of that stuff, but a little bit more challenging for us to do here.
Wow, all this walking.
Right, Chip? You gotta do the work.
Sun's beneath me and wind's behind me.
Big booms. Oh, but man, speaking of the Royals, like I have this thing in my head as to where it's very important to support the local stuff, even if you don't care about it. Like I just don't care about baseball. I don't care about the Royals. But what I used to run into in West Virginia was there's just like nothing to do, and so you have to kind of have a if you build it, they will come mindset, and that if you want to have cool stuff to do, you have to go and at least like consider the stuff you don't want to do, just in terms of if somebody wants to organize an event and nobody shows up, they're just not going to organize events anymore, and that doesn't really help build up the community or anything. But if you buy a T-shirt or whatever and give them a thumbs up on Facebook, they might have the chance to come back. And even if that event wasn't something you were into, then it would be something that maybe other people were into, or their next event might have been cool. And I always felt that if you're going to be a part of that camp that just sat around and said, there's nothing to do here, this town sucks, then what did you do to help make it not suck? Probably not much. And so you gotta be on that positive side. And so that circles back to the Royals. I don't really care about the Royals, but I'll buy a T-shirt. We tend to go to like one game a year, just to go. They're so bad that usually at this time of year the tickets start to go down in price, and so they become a much more affordable team to go and see. But that's always my thing. You gotta at least support the community if you want there to be one, and then try and be a part of it a little bit. But all right, man, another one of these games. This has happened again, as to where I feel like we could win the game if we had the Winding Light on turn 6, right? If we had the way to make him the 1 mana cheaper. But as we have to go into this next turn, there's probable no way that we're going to win this game now. He's just like actually wider than us. We can try and get wider than him, but not really seeing it. Be an avalanche. Okay, good job. Okay, on to the next one. So yeah, I'll buy a Royals t-shirt, I'll go do my best, try to make those things come around. That was one of my things here when I came in and got into some of the gaming groups. I didn't have any friends out here. Just whenever someone said, "Hey, I'm going to do something," okay. Do I want to go? Not really, but if you want people in the group to keep creating events and going to things, then you gotta do your part. And then hopefully when you're like, "Man, there's this neat thing I want to go to," maybe somebody else will be like, "Oh, cool. I would like to take part in that." Life lessons from Bust. You're welcome. It's not all Legends of Runeterra. You got to get a life lesson in there as well. Okay, let's give this one a start, I guess. This deck has just not been meshing. I don't know if I just play it poorly or I messed it up given the amount of cards that I swapped out, or if there was just a lot of hype surrounding this. We've just been getting annihilated with this today. I'm curious if this is just a function of people being like, well, I played 2 games and we crushed with the Winding Light both times. This is the next best thing, and it's just not. It feels like the interactivity is just way too low. Just running around with combat tricks doesn't feel that good. So it's very awkward. All right, well, no attack activity from opponent. We're now kind of, primed and ready to attack this board. Chip was the actual perfect draw here. I'm a little worried about losing action to a Mystic Shot, but we'll see how he tries to take advantage of this board. If he plays like Petricite Broadwing, then this is not super ideal, but we'll see what we can do.
I don't need rules to know good from bad.
So we'll hook the Broadwing in with the Rockhopper and try and preserve our stats. I guess, I could see an argument to maybe want to do the hook with Chip, but it's like we've got what we needed out of action, I think. And if he has the Mystic Shot, he would just be able to Mystic Shot the Chip down. He does protect the Broadwing. Okay. Interesting. Action lives to fight another day. I bet he's got another unit in his hand. Who wants to wager that? Do you feel like this action's about to get hooked by the Broadwing? I'd say that's a pretty accurate assessment. Now, we do have a ton of mana in our hand. We can play 2 combat tricks on him this turn, but I'm not really excited about that. I'm fine to say play Shape Stone onto action, so he trades with the Broadwing. Now we have a good value block on his Forged Chef. I think this is a reasonable board. You fought hard. Good job, Action. Sivir? Do we have the time for Sivir here? She kind of feels like something we should be playing next turn. I'm leaning more towards well, it's how do we actually close this game out, right? We either need to Absolver combo Sivir or we need a Waking Light. And if we get rid of all of our units before we can play the Winding Light, it doesn't do that much. But it's the way I'm kind of going with this is I'm thinking about playing Merciless Hunter into the Forged Chief. But what if we do this? Let's at least get a little bit of value out of this turn. And then we can Pale Cascade the Bruiser into the Sergeant. Like such and so.
We're working here.
He's only at 5 mana. He can't play any of his big spells. Something like Shock Blast next turn would be pretty miserable, but deal with that as it comes. See if we can't get a good predict draw. Oh, we got a mana off the Forged Chief. Okay. All right. Who are we looking towards here? The Ruin Runner? You gotta at least do something with these spell shielded units. All right. Okay. We'll give it our best.
Here I am, there I am.
Seen tombs, towns, and everything in between.
I would love to.
It's like we're at this awkward space to where we can like attack next turn with Sivir, but we're we're one damage short of getting her ability happening. I think this is still kind of okay. We can put some of these crappier units out to the left and then hit with Sivir and hopefully save both our Ruin Runner and Sivir before the turn's over. I'm not amped about this. I want to be amped, but I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Lux was just a gigantic shutdown for the turn. And then we completely whiffed on our predict, so... Okay, I'm not feeling great about it. Alright. GG. But, like, games like that are why I don't think cards like the Preservarium are necessary. Like, at what point are we supposed to be getting, like, positive interactions out of the Preservarium? I get why it's there. It's like if you play Chip on 1 and the Preservarium on 2, that's a way to do it, and it gives you some value in the later game. But the game should all be over before that value is ever relevant. And so I'm typically much more interested in just having that draw 3 option off of the Ancient Preparations, right? Because as we get to a game like that, all we care about is finding the Winding Light. Drawing a single card off the Preservarium just doesn't matter. So this doesn't feel very good. Okay, well, let's see if we can drop our big combos onto the Sun Disk. There's the Winding Light, where he belongs in our opening hand. Let's see if we can't crush through with the Overwhelms.
Wow, all this walking.
Get him, Chip.
Would you look at this place?
Okay, I'm not quite willing to give up action here. We can throw down an Ancient Preparations and then just play action next turn. Do we want a Sivir, or a Sivir? Well, I'm pretty on board with picking up Sivir in this match, so I think that's okay. And then we will play action. He's going to catch the Roiling Sands, but that's fine. We're going to get some reasonable interactivity out of this board before action goes down. Okay, we're going to let this Endless Devout live, right? We don't need to be giving him access to these sarcophagus. So we can let this attack happen. We can add Sivir to the board, and then we can take it down next turn with a better collection of units. All right, what up, Azir? So do we want to actually get the Ruin Runner down? I'm leaning towards no. We'll play it post-combat, but I think we just need to go ahead and get this attack in now. Like, just playing the Ruin Runner and having it trade with the Endless Devout doesn't feel very good. We're to that stage of the game to where we need to build up board for the Winding Light. So, like, I'm gonna play the Ruin Runner here, now that he's ready to go. But we have a couple of things that we need to have happen. We need to pick up a spell so that we can... Oh, that's shitty. I just I saw him play the card, so I was like, all right, Rockhopper. That's not good. It's not good him just getting the free hook in, but we gotta find a little bit of something to do to get some board before we play Winding Light, and then of course we need to be able to actually Nightfall it. Not gonna be able to do it. We'll have to draw it next turn. What if we get action into combat this turn, though? Well, looks like that option is being taken away from us.
That's all.
Would you look at this place?
All right. Let's see. We'll see what we can pick up off the top. Not feeling great about it. Not feeling super good. Not sure how much of a better spot we'd be in if we didn't lose our Ruin Runner here, but it's what it is. Let's see what you got for us. Pale Cascade. All right, it's something. It's something. Who do we want to boost? I'm leaning just towards Sivir, since she still has the spell shield. Okay. All right, let's give that a try. Opponent says game's not over yet, bruh. not yet.
Watch me.
Villains beware. This is justice.
Okay. Ooh, we won a game. How about that? How about that? Feels good. Feels good to win a game every once in a while. I almost forgot what that felt like. Whew. Okay. The final battle is upon us. Not a big collection of wins here. You know, 2. Pretty a 2 divided by 7 win rate, whatever that is. 15% or so. Is that what that math's up to? Not bad. Not bad. What do we got here? The blades. The blades are coming at us. All right, tokens. So let's hang on to... I think we'll even just get rid of Rockhopper. I want to hang on to action, but then just look for a 1-drop. Didn't find one, but I think we need to be playing as fully on curve as we can. Ideally, you know, contesting their sparring students as soon as we can. It's a little bit awkward on the even attack, or on the odd attack with action, since they're going to be attacking next turn. We're playing action and not really blocking anything. So... would have been nice to find something a little bit more interactive. Leaning towards Shapestone here. Don't really need the Rockhoppers. Just give us a bit of interactivity.
I could learn from watching you.
There's one of those sparring students we can't interact with. Noise.
I do not break rules, I bend them slightly.
Okay, we'll put action in front of the token. Get us a little bit closer to the flip on the Warlord's Palace. Oh, he just no attacks. Nice.
We're not taking it. We're taking it back.
And if he just passes, what do we do? Right? If he sits here with 3 mana and just represents a Twin Disciplines, do we still attack with any of this stuff? I guess it's still safe, right? This unit's too small to take down action, and I don't care if it trades with our others. Okay. I analyzed. Everything's okay.
Men die, but Shurima lives forever.
Get these pulse fires going. Y'all remember that Pulse Fire event? Is that still going on? Man, I opened my weekly chest today. I just pushed that button that says open all. So nice. The thing that caught me with the opening of the chest is I used to see like all the rewards come in, and then it does that recap screen, and it would list all of the shards that you got, and it was like I would see the shards and be like, okay, there's an expedition trial, and then I got my expedition token, so there's going to be an additional one. Now I just see it and like, I guess we're not playing any expeditions today. Sad grumble. All right, what are we gonna have going on here? He plays Irelia. I think we're good with this turn to just drop a Vagabond and then also drop a Shaped Stone. These attacks aren't too scary. And I kind of want to keep some health around so we can try and take down Irelia if he attacks with her. He's out of mana, so this board's looking pretty good for us. We're going to have to block the Sparring Student just to prevent a bit, but otherwise everything here looks strong. I mean, we can even still just block with action. He's going to have the additional point of health now. That's probably the most that we're ever going to get out of him in terms of blocking. Let's go ahead and prevent that damage. Looks pretty good. Also helps us level up the Sivir, getting all of these extra blocks in. Something cool. Get the Winding Light for like 5 turns from now. I don't even really want the Pale Cascade, given that we already have one and we can't really play it at this point. I'm just going to go with the Ruin Runner. So we can play like Ruin Runner on our opponent's next turn and then maybe get a kill that way. Maybe. I'm going to lead out with Sivir. You know, it's like we do have the option to play Treasure Seeker and then try to bait him a little bit and then lead in with the Sivir, but I think it's just a little bit better here to see what they do. If they play something like a little scary, then we're going to have the option to just go ahead and attack. And then if they don't do something scary, we might follow up with the Treasure Seeker. But he doesn't seem like he's really got to be doing too much here. We're going to be too far away from lethal. But attacking with Sivir to the left, I want her to flip and then give the quick attacks to our other units. You could put her to the right if you want to try and deal an extra point of damage. Not what we're going to go for here. I want to hopefully have these Vagabonds survive this combat against the Sparring Student. See, he's winning that combat, right? He says, nah, bust, that's too much. Now I'm like curious if we shouldn't have kept that Winding Light or not. We got rid of it. I assumed it was just going to be like too far in the future, picking up that Winding Light on turn 4. Now I'm kind of like, it would be nice to have next turn. Yeah, it could definitely be worse. Alright, but not adding the Treasure Seeker. We're just going to play the Ruin Runner next turn. I want to have a bit of Pale Cascade mana. Interesting. Do we just grappling hook his Azir? He just made a huge investment in him. I think so. It's just it's a big problem with Azir coming in. The question is, do we want to put this on our Sivir or not, right? If we put it on action or something, he can block. But if he has a quicksand, it shuts that down. All right, let's put it on Sivir. That's the safe way to do this. All right, we won a game. Market a W for Team Bust. And so, man, that was a eye-opening set of games, if you will. I had like pretty high hopes for this deck. I thought that there was going to be like a lot of good going on with it, but I just never like really enjoyed anything that was happening in those games. It never felt like anything was really meshing. It feels like there's kind of like a strategy over here and a strategy over here and a strategy up here, and they never really like converge. Like whenever I sat here and made a lot of the statements, is it's like, you know, we have these early game kind of vulnerable units, ways to take advantage of them, and the chip kind of ties it all together. It never felt good. And I think as like time goes on and I look at decks like this and it's playing like 9 and 10 combat tricks, it just doesn't do enough. Like there's more powerful things you can be doing these days than playing some kind of value game to where you're gonna like get your opponent for like their 3 mana with your 1 because you shape stone down a combat. Like it just doesn't feel like that's the best or the most powerful thing you could be doing. And so I just like don't really like that concept here. And so I could see there being a world as to where you're like, okay, I want to play like triple winding light decks, and so I only get access to 1 Aphelios. So I've got to find another way to get these winding lights going. And so I've got like Diana Nightfall in one place, and I've got my Aphelios deck, and now I need a third. Then maybe you could kind of slot that in here. But I just don't. There's like 2 pieces here. It's like I don't feel like this is the best thing you can be doing with the winding light. And then I don't feel like this is the best thing you can be doing with Akshan Sivir. Like I don't feel like this is really better than the Demacia version of Akshan Sivir. We're giving up on that access to things like Concerted Strike and Single Combat and all of the various challengers and stuff. And it just takes like a lot more work to really get that stuff or less work to get that stuff going. And you have the option for more interactivity. And so, man, I just noticed is like looking at all these advertisements scroll across the screen, and they decided to put a bunch of like big titty anime girls on here. That's not a part of my Google searches, but I guess they can just share this with everyone. But at any rate, I just feel like the Demacia deck does a better job of this, and I think this deck is asking the question like, you know, how do we use the Winding Light? And I don't think that's it. Like it feels like this is a deck that, you know, you're getting a good value unit out of chip. The Winding Light is again like a very fantastically powerful card, but this deck, it just felt like we were kind of at the whims of our opponents, and so it's like we're just putting a bunch of cards on the board and being like, can you do something with it? Like if you can't do something with it, then this is going to be okay because we've got all of our units on the board for the Winding Light. But if your opponent does something to it, it's like, well, that's not really cool. Like you can mess with my stuff, but I can't mess with yours. And so I don't know. I again, like I kind of feel like where this came about was like somebody posted like a 10 game set on Twitter, and they won like 7 of the 10, and then somebody saw a picture of it and they played like 3 games with it, and they managed to win all 3 games with the Winding Light, and they said, wow, this is the next big thing. And then I just don't feel like this is quite good enough. And so what does Bust give it? I give it 2 thumbs down. So you want to play with it, by all means, go ahead and go for it. Does this get the Bust seal of approval for good ladder grinding and seasonals winning? It does not. So you've been warned. But that is going to do it for us today. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. You learned better ways to take advantage of the Winding Light. You learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.